This is News Talk ZB News.
Good morning, it's 6 o'clock. I'm Nivariti Manu. China's influence in the Pacific will likely be top of mind for Winston Peters as he meets with the US Secretary of State. The Foreign Minister is in Washington, D.C., due to meet with Marco Rubio about now. It will take place against the backdrop of China's Navy firing live rounds in the Tasman Sea and its government signing agreements with the Cook Islands. Geopolitical analyst Jeffrey Miller says Peters will try to find common ground with Rubio on the issue.
I think Marco Rubio's response will be very much to ask New Zealand to step up, and I think there will be more pressure on New Zealand to not just use its words, but to use its actions.
This is News Talk ZB News.
Good morning, it's 5 o'clock. I'm Nivariti Manu. Meanwhile, an expert says Winston Peters' meeting with the US Secretary of State couldn't come at a more pivotal time. The Foreign Minister is in Washington, D.C. and due to meet with Marco Rubio at 6 a.m. It comes as Donald Trump's interest in the Pacific is uncertain, and he's promising tariffs on agricultural imports into the United States. Geopolitical analyst Jeffrey Miller says Peters will be keen for New Zealand to receive favourable treatment.
This is News Talk ZB News.
Good morning, it's 7:30. I'm Nivariti Manu. The war in Gaza appears to be back to square one. Gaza's Hamas-run health ministry says more than 400 people have been killed in Israeli airstrikes overnight, ending a fragile truce that began in January. Israel is vowing to ramp up the attacks towards Hamas. International geopolitical analyst Jeffrey Miller told Mike Hosking it's been the deadliest 24-hour period since November 2023.
Looking increasingly grim, Israel's defence minister is promising the gates of hell will open if Hamas does not release the remaining 24 hostages.
10 minutes past 7. Meantime, the other war, of course, Israel's launched these new strikes in Gaza. Negotiations for the past couple of weeks have gone nowhere. Of course, the international geopolitical analyst Jeffrey Miller is back with us. Jeffrey, morning.
Good morning, Mike.
This does have a same old feel about it, isn't it? It wasn't very hard to predict that Phase 2 probably wasn't going to be a thing and the bombs would start falling again. Where does this go, do you reckon?
Yes, look, the surprise really was that the ceasefire lasted as long as it did, almost 2 whole months, and it was a success. It took Gaza off the front pages for around 8 weeks, and we started looking at tariffs and back to the war in Ukraine, but now we're back at square one, and it was the deadliest 24-hour period in the war since November 2023, over 400 killed. It's a desperately sad situation, and we absolutely need to keep advocating for that ceasefire to be resumed because it's now looking increasingly grim. Israel's defence minister is promising the gates of hell will open if Hamas does not release the remaining 24 hostages, and it could go from bad to worse.
Is Israel right? Give us the hostages and we got a deal, and they haven't handed over the hostages.
Well, look, the devil is always in the detail. There has been some real success with the ceasefire since January. You've had 25 hostages released alive. I think the correct approach would have been to continue negotiating, and the talks were ongoing. The official first phase of the ceasefire ended in the start of March, and since then we've been in a holding period. But negotiations broke down in Doha at the weekend over the extension of the ceasefire. Hamas wanted to move into Phase 2. Israel wanted to extend Phase 1. And now Israel has just gone in with a military approach. It's been greenlit by Donald Trump. So Donald Trump deserved a lot of the credit for bringing that ceasefire about in January, but he also deserves the blame now for allowing this to happen. And ultimately, the only way through now here is through Donald Trump. Donald Trump is incredibly powerful. We saw how Joe Biden was very impotent when it came to Gaza, and Netanyahu did what he pleased. Trump does hold all the cards, as he might say, on Gaza at the moment.
All right, Jeffrey, appreciate it. Jeffrey Miller, international geopolitical analyst, but he won't be feeling particularly good about the phone call. He might be a bit stretched. I mean, there's only so many things you can promise, and eventually you got to deliver. 13 minutes past 7.
Hosking.
Morning, Mike.